Hey everyone, welcome here and glad to have you along. Did you know that I am now on Locals? Locals is an app where you can build community. Think of it like a modern day Facebook group. There you can get free content. I host morning coffees, some afternoon happy hours. You get tons of bonus content, discounts to programs and functions, and it's the best place to connect with me and the subscription box community as we continue to grow. All the videos are free to watch, and all you have to do is sign up on Locals. And the best place to do that is to download the Locals app and search for The Subscription Box Show or Eric Music, or you can go to the actual website, thesubscriptionboxshow.locals.com, and there you'll be able to sign up for free. Hope to see you there, and remember to check out our new YouTube channel, The Subscription Box Show. Cheers, and enjoy the show. All right, so it's been a minute since we've had, as he would say in our WhatsApp chat, it's been a minute. What, is that a new saying, by the way? Like, what do you? It's
been a minute. I think I picked that up from some friends in Los Angeles actually when I was living there.
Anyways, it's been a minute. It's been a minute with our esteemed guest here today. It's none other than the founder of Subly, and I'll get you in a second a chance to introduce yourself and what you do and what you are at Subly. If people have never heard of it, Subly is one of the big 3 or 4, as what I would call it. You got the subscription platforms, you've got the Shopify and their apps, and then you've got essentially CreateJoy and Subly. So, I mean, you've got other ones there, but those are kind of what I would consider the big guns in the industry. So, since it's been a minute since you last been on the show, because we've had you on for the subscription platform series back in the day, and was that the only time? Maybe no, I thought. I've been on your show. Maybe that's what I'm confused.
Yeah, you were on our old podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, Stefan Pretty, everyone from Subly, founder of Subly. So all the way from Scotland, from Edinburgh, as we say in Canada, but it's not pronounced. How do you get?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I could throw everybody for a spin right now if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna. It's just Edinburgh. Which is a bit confusing because it's actually technically Edinburgh, as per the spelling, but it's Edinburgh.
All right. Well, for those who've never heard of yourself or your company, maybe tell us a quick snapshot, elevator pitch. Yeah. What do you guys do there?
Sure. So yeah, thanks for the warm introduction, and also thanks for having me back, Eric. I really do appreciate it, and it has been a minute. So yeah, basically, Subly is a subscription-first commerce platform. And it has everything you need to start, grow, and scale a subscription first business. Now, just to define what subscription first means, it's basically any business that has the primary sales intent of selling subscriptions. But that doesn't mean that that's all Subly can do. So, for example, if you're a subscription business, if you're like a retail business that's adding subscription and kind of dipping the toe in the water with the subscription world, then we can 100% cater for that as well, because traditional commerce is bread and butter for us as well. It's basically a given. It's an essential piece of the puzzle for us. And in fact, it powers a lot of the advanced features that's in the Subly ecosystem, like the funnels and upsells and all those things. So traditional transactional commerce, as we call it, transactional commerce is a cornerstone piece of that puzzle. So it's got the website builder, the billing, everything that you need. And you don't need any plugins. You don't need, multiple different solutions. It's just all in one place. So that's the main USP.
So like similar to CreateJoy, where you do everything from CreateJoy, Subly has a similar platform, unlike Shopify, for example, that you have to have a recharge or a bold subscriptions app or one of these different plugins, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I'll actually take it a little bit further and explain the differentiation, because I think it'd probably be really useful for people.
Okay.
And so if you were to compare Subly and CreateJoy, CreateJoy is a marketplace first, right? And they have their focus on their marketplace, and then they have the platform on the back end where you can use it. In terms of Shopify versus Subly, Shopify is transactional commerce first. It's more, and then they have all these plugins that you would need to use in order to actually run a successful subscription business. So our focus is subscription first, and that's kind of another way of looking at it. So transactional first, Shopify, CreateJoy is marketplace first, and then Subly is subscription first. And that means the result of that is that we're built very differently, because it was as part of the DNA when we started 8 years ago. So it's the subtle nuances that sometimes you don't really consider. Like our goal is to kind of eliminate the spreadsheet, so to speak, where in other platforms, you find that people are having to use spreadsheets to run their businesses, to do their inventory assignments and allocations of their SKUs, based on the custom data that they're collecting for their customers. So our goal is to eliminate all those pain points, literally, and just, the goal is to just have it make sense.
Yeah. So is it something then, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I might be wrong in saying this. Is it customizable then? For example, if someone has, a really cool idea for their website and they want to go with Subly because it makes sense because they're going to be subscription and they want to really add that and be that a massive part of their business, can they kind of like have a customized website where it's going to look with their brand and feel, or is it something where it's going to be cookie cutter and, kind of look all the same?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So is it customizable? Yes. If you know what you're doing and if you put the effort in, you'll get the result that you're looking for. And I think that's the same for all platforms. I would say that our website builder it is drag and drop. So you can literally just, drag blocks onto the page, change the paddings and the margins, and configure the site how you want it to look. However, you're only restricted by your imagination. What I would say is that in terms of like advanced customizability, the only way to truly achieve that is if you know, HTML, CSS, or have a developer, and you can work with Subly that way as well. So we've got these public APIs, and we're constantly adding more of them to make it as flexible and easy to work with as possible. We've got some big releases coming towards the end of this year, but they're going to be coming out in stages so that your developers can really easily interface with the API, and you don't have to even be like a hardcore API developer. You could just know JavaScript and still successfully work with their API. So you can work with Subly from a very basic level of knowledge all the way through to like massive high street brand names, who have their own development teams. And we do actually work with, that full spectrum. We work with some really big businesses and some really small businesses.
Yeah. So in layman's terms, folks, if you're
sorry.
Yeah, no, but so in layman's terms, you can have it done as simply as you need to and still be beautiful and great, yes, and custom and look fantastic, look your brand, or you can really get in depth and granular. And if you like coding and, like to nerd out and that stuff, like Stefan just talked about, and he had no idea what he's talking about, then you can hire that out as well to customize it further. Is that kind of like basically it?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, you've got the different levels of customization based on your knowledge, and
sure,
that you can work with Subly in the way that feels right and is correct for you and where you're at with the stage of your business.
Yeah, similar to any other platform, right? Like in that sense,
basically.
Yeah. Before I continue here, I just want to take a quick second to because I'm horrible at doing this. We do have a new YouTube channel, so if you're listening to this on audio, please head over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and hit the bell button. I think the bell button is going to notify you. If you don't want to be notified, at least just like the videos you're watching and at least subscribe. That helps us to get out there because it's been slow going on that side. So check that out. So if you want to see Stefan's, pun intended, pretty face.
I'm going to subscribe right now. Literally.
Yeah, Stefan's
nice pun.
Yeah, nice pun. And he's I don't know if he's still the most eligible bachelor in subscription. Are you still? This is still the most. Is that still the case?
I don't like to make claims, but I am single. Yes.
So ladies, there's a lot of ladies that listen to. You probably want to go. This is the one. If you haven't listened to this or watched the show yet, this is probably the one. He's.
By the way, we're just passing the beer test here.
Yeah, we're talking off air. Speaking of off air, so yeah, go check out the YouTube channel. And speaking of off air,
now.
There you go. We're going to be doing a post show wrap up after this is over. So if you're listening or watching, head over to Locals for that. The post show wrap up is going to be actually on examples of a customized website that Subly would do, and an example of air quotations, generic Subly website. Maybe Stefan can share us a couple of examples that he enjoys that are done well. I got a few that maybe come to mind, but I'll let you do that since this is your baby. So if you want to kind of see what that looks like, the Subly platform and how those websites can be, join us at Locals. If you're like, what the heck is Locals? The subscription boxshow.locals.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's at the bottom there. It's always in the links in the show notes, either on audio or not. And you'll get to watch the exclusive on that that we're going to be doing for the specifically on the websites, just so people kind of see what a Subly website looks like, and they look really good. They're, there's no, unless you kind of know what you're looking for, but the way it's smooth transaction from checkout, because there's no clunkiness. It's all in one. So anyways, we'll let him showcase that in the post-show wrap-up. So if you're not a local supporter, go do that. You can join for free. And you can also support the show for as low as $5 a month. So YouTube and locals, check that out. Now, back to what we were talking about, and customization or not. So we're going to finish that off. Is there anything else you want to touch on when it comes to the platform website? Otherwise, we're going to move on to other stuff here.
Yeah, no, I think we've basically, got it in a nutshell. It's just our goal is to create, our mission, actually, I should say, is to create a home for subscription businesses. And I think that it's just a really important thing that it's super nuanced. Like if you, when you use Shopify, we call it plugin soup. It's just this kind of term that we throw around. And that, as you go further and further into your subscription business, I think you find you're needing more and more functionality that's specific to your needs, and you end up having multiple plugins. And our goal is to just remove all of that pain and raise the bar and make it as frictionless and fluid as possible. And I kind of, in my head, I sometimes use this word like agility, give you the agility to test and iterate with your business model in a rapid way, so that you're not feeling restricted by, oh, what if I change this on that plugin? How's that going to impact that one? And all these other things that you kind of, these secondary unintended consequences of going down that path. But yeah, not to hate on it. Shopify is a great product. I mean, I think it does what it's intended to do really phenomenally well. So, but our goal is to do it really phenomenally well for subscription businesses.
Cool. We're going to talk about migration. If someone's listening, it's like, okay, after this interview, I've listened, I've seen enough, I've heard about it before. Maybe I haven't, but I'm considering now. I want to kind of simplify and go with one platform that does it all. We're going to talk about migration maybe near the end. So if you're not sure what migration means, that's like switching over from one product to another. So let's say you're with CreateJoin, you're thinking about going to Subly, or you're with Shopify, you're thinking of going to Subly. We're going to talk about migration, how easy it is, how difficult is it? Is it difficult? What's the worst thing that can happen? And what are the typical kind of stories? So we'll get to that at the end. But first of all, customization. We talked about customization. Can someone customize, like, for say add-ons and stuff? Like, let's say you want to build your own box and stuff like that. Is that something that you guys do?
Yeah. So this is a really common case, actually, that we're built for. So we have what's called the survey builder, and it allows you to design like the onboarding flow for your customers, so you can collect the data points. So say you wanted to do like a personalized subscription for that's unique to each individual subscriber, or maybe you've got an in-between where you have like 5 buckets of people based on the preferences, and you set the definitions for each of those buckets, the criteria, and you send out 5 different versions of the box. You can do that through the survey builder, and then all the customer data, all the different custom data points that you define, you can create really complex filtering to triage and triangulate those orders and customers to then do the fulfillment and the inventory assignation of the SKUs, etc. So we do definitely cater for those common use cases for the subscription world. And another thing that we have, which is eventually going to replace that, actually, is the funnel builder. So you can actually present the customer with various different offers at different stages of their purchasing journey. So, for example, say you're doing like a toothpaste subscription, right? Organic toothpaste. And then you decide, okay, well, I want to increase the ARPU, the average revenue per user. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm thinking in SaaS terms there. The LTV and the average order value, AOV. What you could do is you could do like a pre-purchase offer. So as they hit the checkout, you could say, hey, why not buy the toothbrush? And you could then have them add to the cart, or they could just decline the offer and continue on to the checkout. Then there's like a mid-purchase. We call like, these are stages and phases. And then there's the mid-purchase trigger point, and then there's also post-purchase, which is really interesting. So let's play that scenario out using the same example. Yeah, post-purchase is a big game changer. Huge. Actually. So say you have like let's say the toothpaste example again. and you do like a free first time, like you just pay for postage and packaging on your first order, and then once they've purchased, they have already put their credit card details in. They've already put their shipping information in, so it's all in the database for your store. And then once they complete that transaction, they're already invested in your company and your brand. They've reverse rationalized their trust in you as well, because they've already made that commitment. And then you get presented with an offer in the post-purchase phase of the purchasing journey, which then could say, for example, hey, it looks like you're oh, sorry, my my Amazon device is piping up all of a sudden. And then basically you could have a post-purchase offer saying, why not purchase or subscribe to our organic whatever mouthwash, let's say that, for example. And that's a second subscription that they could add immediately, and then that would also help you reclaim some of the acquisition cost for when that customer subscribes, because obviously you've got your ad spend and you want to get that money back as quickly as possible, so your time to profit will decrease. And then essentially you're paying for the acquisition with these post-purchase offers and increasing your LTV at the same time. And the beauty about these post-purchase offers is that you just click one button and it's done, because all the information is already in the database. As I said, the payment information, they've already given you their shipping information, and it's just done. One button, done. So you've got all these different stages. You can also do stacking of offers. So you could, like, if they don't accept this one, then present them this one. If they do accept this one, show them another one, and you can just build out this journey. And then, as I said, the survey builder, eventually we're going to replace that, so that you can put the questions in line with the funnel builder as well and collect those custom personalization data points and questions.
Yeah, so, there's a lot, but if you kind of were dazed away for a second there, not listening, go back and rewind it about 2 minutes, because what he just said could save your business. I'm not even kidding. It's phenomenal. It's a perfect segue, because we just recently had Robert Scrogg. I was saying his name wrong, by
yeah.
And he's the author.
He wrote a book, didn't he?
Yeah, Retention Point. And he talked exactly about that. And it was a big aha moment for me, because, customer acquisition costs are expensive. Cash flow is usually not there when it comes to subscription boxes. So how do you kind of like pay for that high acquisition cost and marketing and not stay stuck? Well, this is the phenomenal way he was talking about. He would even break it down to terms of percentages. So for example, if you have the post-purchase product, exactly what you're bang on, 4% of the people, 16% of the people will take something that's 20% higher. So offer 20. No, what was the numbers again? The numbers are, anyways, go back and listen to that episode. But he gives you numbers on, like, basically if you add something that's like 20% higher, it's 4 times whatever so let's say your box is $50, you 5 or 4 times X. So you offer a $200 product, 16% of the people will take that. And then you do another post one, you offer it 16 times or whatever, and like 4% of the people will take that. So it's all broken down. It's proven. It's a known thing that because you already have their trust and they've already purchased, they're excited. The post-purchase is very powerful, and that's where a lot of people miss out. And to your point with Subly, not to try to pump your tires for no reason, but like it's nice that it's all in one system, because what happens, it's not another app to do that for you. It's not another charge, to your monthly operations. And there's less chance of all that, these different things, at some point, technical glitches breaking or whatever. So, so
there's a really interesting thought there as well. Talking about the post-purchase experience, that you can have multiple offers stacked, and it is basically a kind of that's what I was going to say, a value ladder. So you could essentially look at your business from a value ladder perspective, and I encourage you to read up on value ladders. Actually, I think it's a really interesting topic, like where the entry point might be like a very small product where they're just entering your ecosystem and their customer journey with you. And that's how we look at these things. Subscription businesses are kind of like these ongoing journeys. And we actually, at the beginning of our catch up here, we were talking, I mentioned subscription first, which might be a new term to a lot of people here, but we actually developed what we believe to be these principles, and you can find them on our website, but it's called Subscription First Principles. And one of them is about the customer journey and how it should be seamless and frictionless, regardless if it happens on session, off session, i.e. when you're on the website, or if you leave the website, but you might still be online, in store and offline and online, like all these different states that a customer could be in. And the journey should be seamless between all of those stages. And that really supports this idea of like the value ladder, where you get them engaged with your brand, you're building affinity with them, you're building trust, and then they unlock more value, basically. So this is the other thing about thinking about these funnels, that the upsells and the cross sells and the downsells are actually a way to allow them to gain more value from the initial purchase. So it's not just about gaining more money for you as a business, but it's actually you providing them more value so that their experience is even better. And that's how I would frame it. It's like, okay, well, how can we, like, for example, say your entry point was more information based, like it's actually just access to content. Just imagine it's this situation. And then you're like, okay, well, in order to leverage that knowledge that we're educating them with, we could sell them products that are going to support them on that education journey. So suddenly we're actually giving them the tools to be able to get more value out of the knowledge that we're bestowing on them, and onwards and upwards. And then eventually you're up to the coaching level or whatever. That's just another example that's where this value ladder idea comes from originally, is actually this kind of education to coaching journey.
Totally.
The same can be applied in really clever ways and interesting ways for subscription retail businesses.
Cool. Do you have like a blog on that one or something? We could. You should put up a blog on it, and we'll have it ready for the when this is released here. You make some great points. But this all sounds great, right? If someone's like, "Yeah, this is great," but sometimes I know how it is, because if I put myself back in my early shoes of like beginner mode, it's like, this is all fantastic. Like, I want all these things, but how realistically easy is this to implement, right? Like, that's the big question. Is like, man, that can sound super overwhelming at times. Even if you are started and established, it's like, okay, I'm started, I'm doing okay, but these are great ideas to take me to that next level. How easy is this to implement? And is this something where realistically people can do on their own? How difficult?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I would say that talking of journeys, each person, when they're starting a business, is going on a similar journey, right? So you might start with a seed of an idea, which is this simple subscription concept. You're gonna learn if you're committed and dedicated to succeeding and making that work, and if you're able to tolerate the idea that you're gonna have micro failures along the way, and I specifically call them micro failures, that you will eventually find people and places and observe others who are doing it right, to learn from them, to then integrate these concepts and ideas in all these different ways that will work for your specific audience, your specific product over time. Now this is where it gets really, this is a really important point. Like, going back to, like, if you were choosing a platform, we're going to talk about migrations in a bit, but and this is connected to this point, which is, when you're choosing a platform, you're going to be over time growing your knowledge and learning and iterating and evolving your business model. And we know that as a platform, because our focus is these subscription businesses, and that is the common journey. So we've built the platform around that, because basically we're anticipating your curve. Whereas if you're not using a platform that's going to be built for anticipating that curve, you're going to find yourself running into some walls quite quickly. And again, I'm not hard selling. I'm just genuinely talking about like what we've observed, and the frustrations that I see, and therefore becomes my frustration. So yeah, does that answer the question? It is easy, you can, but ultimately you need the knowledge, and you need to kind of come to those epiphanies yourself anyway, I think. And because somebody can tell you to do something, like I can sit here and say, like, this is the level you need to be at. You don't need to be at that level, but I do think that you will, if you're committed, you will get to that level eventually anyway, and you'll connect at the right time when you're ready with those ideas. There's knowing something in theory, and then there's knowing something emotionally. It's like when the two meet, suddenly that's where the magic happens. You just unlock this deeper understanding.
Yeah, it's almost like when opportunity meets preparedness, or whatever, however that goes, exactly. Right? Like, yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's just you're not there yet. Then it actually brings me to my next kind of question when it comes to like CRO, conversion rate optimization, and website building. Not to get too geeky with you all, but like oftentimes like Shopify, for what they do great. And we are still on Shopify, as you would know. But it's having a subscription business is different, right? And I think people oftentimes, if I'm doing a consult call or something, it's like their website's just like really not ready to convert. And it's like almost like, oh man, like it's sad because they think they've got it. And it's like, there's so many things gone wrong that's why it's not converting. Right. And we can see them from this bird's eye view because we were, not next level, but we do know more in the sense at this point in our careers. And, but so I guess my point is for something like Subly, because it's subscription first, is there like things in place that maybe helps them to not kind of go through those rabbit holes of mistakes to kind of keep them on point? Because there's like does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It's such a good question, actually.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's such a good question because it's subtle, and it's easy to talk about conversion rate optimization and like this thing that you just have to do. And it's oftentimes the thing that will keep you awake at night thinking about all the things that you need to go through and test. But yeah,
it's also something that in the beginning people don't even think about. They just put together these ideas and there's too much copy, or there's like bad photographs or whatever. Like it's just like the flow's not right, and it's costing them.
Yeah, and that's oftentimes the point in their journey where they actually might give up as well, because they go, wow, this is overwhelming. Suddenly there's like what you know, what you don't know, and then there's what you don't know that you don't know. And like when you start discovering the bits that you don't know, that's when you go, oh, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. The imposter syndrome kicks in and you're just like, shit, I'm just gonna give up. Excuse me, I just swore.
No, it's okay. Explicit lyrics, we're gonna have to put explicit now. Check off the
Can you not just bleep it out?
No, it's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so to answer your question in terms of Subly, obviously we have access to a lot of data that allows us to give advice and recommendations, and it is something that we're kind of developing right now. We're working on our university, which is mainly geared around how to use Subly, but we're going to be able to inject the learnings from our data to be able to give advice on the best way of using the platform. The other thing that we're actually working on right now, because we're going to be deploying some major updates, with the admin user interface, is that based on all the learnings that we've got from all the studies and all the people that we've spoken to, because it's really important. You'll probably know that we're really proactive with our audience and our customers and our community to like learn what their pain points are and go really deep with them on that. Yeah. One thing that there's a couple of themes that keep coming up, and we want to try and address those as much as possible through like the product experience. So we're going to create templates. And we're working on those just now. So like presets for like how to configure your product in the most effective way. And we want to do it so that it's super seamless, that when you log in, if you say like what the nature of your business idea is or your model, then it should give suggestions that are relevant to that. That'll be the end state for this. I mean, obviously that's going to take some time to get there, but for now we're going to have like these presets to help you just get there quicker, to try and avoid some of the pitfalls. And that will apply to like the automations as well. So we'll have like predefined automations. And for the funnels, what we're trying to do is get it into the product into a place where people can share their recipes, basically. Like that's what we're working towards. And in particular, we have the certified Subly experts, and oftentimes they might want to share like the recipes that work really well for them. And you should become an expert, by the way.
Yeah, pressure on this, putting him on the spot here.
Yeah. So yeah, basically that's our goal, to try and remove some of those pitfalls as much as possible. And there's a lot to learn. Like there really is. Not to make it any more daunting than it already is, but I think there's ways that we can do that through the product to make it a little bit easier to incrementally increase your knowledge by exposing the user to the things that they need to know at a better timing rather than all at once.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'm excited. I know we're talking off air a little bit before about like the stuff you guys got in the next 3 years coming out, like your roadmap. I think you called it your 3-year roadmap, and it's like it's exciting stuff, folks. Like no doubt it's where you're going in the right direction, and what people don't see what's going on sometimes in the public eye, right? I don't know if you want to talk about that, like what people see in the public eye versus what's actually happening in the background. I know you can't divulge too much, and even with me, you have to you have to be guarded because yeah, I mean, this is internal stuff, but it's still fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think we actually have kind of developed a bit of a culture of not secrecy is a kind of a dirty word, isn't it? But guardedness and let's just use the word secrecy. I think I like that being that way, because it feels like we're working on something exciting and special as well. I mean, it helps in that regard, but I mean, it is a secret. And some of these things I do think are really pivotal and breakthroughs in terms of the technology.
Is that just the nature of the business and the competition that's out there? You want to keep that?
Yeah, it's fierce. Yeah. It's super fierce. So that's another reason why we're kind of tend to have that stance. But yeah, you're right. Like, for the last 7 months now, we've been hard at work on so many different things, moving them forward all at the same time, that it almost looks like we haven't done much for the last 7 months, and like our website doesn't even reflect who we are today. I mean, that's really frustrating for me as the founder and CEO, to be like looking at our website going, this isn't us. Really, it's difficult to tolerate that, but we're getting closer every day to like deploying some really monumental and milestone products and updates.
Yeah, it is exciting from the stuff you're talking about. So look forward to that. So what's the first, maybe, I don't know, actually, before we get into your first update that you guys are going to be doing, and maybe, I don't know if you can name some of the things without naming them, if that makes sense, but you have to be guarded. But before that, quickly, a reminder, folks, that this show has been sponsored by Liam Brennan, another guy from your part of the world. Irish. What's the Irish and Scottish? Yeah. Is it friends? Is it friendly?
Yeah, no, we're friends.
Cool. So Liam Brennan's Subscription Box Experts Academy. So it's a program, folks. If you don't know about it, if you've never heard about this program, it's probably the best-selling program when it comes to overall help towards building your business. Regardless, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. Speaking of these platforms, I think actually Liam is a Subly. He is a Subly platform guy.
He is, yeah. He does use Subly. Yeah.
There you go. But anyways, you don't need to be a Subly guy to do this course. I mean, I've done it and I'm on Shopify. So Liam Brennan's Experts Academy is open now. If you go to sign up using the link in the show notes, regardless, podcast, YouTube, locals, what you're going to find is I'm going to give you $50 back if you use that link. And it's key because it helps support the show. I am an affiliate, full transparency. So yes, I do make a cut from it, but if it's not for you and you're not sure, let me know. I've turned people away before because it wasn't a fit talking about the CRO. It's like, you're not there yet. It's just like their business was not ready to take that kind of step. Who's the course for, though? It's for anyone who's probably got an existing business. But if you're in the idea stage, it might be a bit too green for you, too rich for you, I should say. But if you've got a launched business already and you're looking to grow your membership, this is a course for you. They're going to talk about CRO, what we talked about. It's going to talk about Facebook ads and doing it yourself. It's kind of like a do-it-yourself, so you become more adept at running your own business and running it profitably, so you don't have to hire everything out. So if you're interested in that and you go sign up and it's already full, which could be the case by the time this airs, you can still email me or sign up through my link. And, every few months he's going to launch a new one, because he only takes a certain amount of people, because there's live calls that you get with Liam as well, where he can actually go through your business, which is phenomenal stuff. So check that out. Now the features, going back to your features, is it something you can even share? Can you name some of the things what's the next thing coming out, for example? Or is it just like, can't say anything?
No, I definitely can. I would say the next big release is probably going to be our API, like full public API, and the SDKs that accompany those. So the API, when I say API, it's singularly, it's a full big project, but it's actually made up of multiple different APIs. And the API will allow like developers, coders to actually build on top of Subly and customize, the purchase experience or whatever. You can work with it in any way that you want, actually. But we're also developing these SDKs, which basically makes it easier for developers to actually get started with the API. And also, it means that you don't need to be like a developer wizard to work with the SDKs, because you only need to know like JavaScript, for example, to get started with it. So yeah, those are coming really soon, and that's actually going to unlock some possibilities for us internally as well, allowing us to accelerate in certain ways in terms of the purchasing and checkout experience. I would say another thing that's going to be coming in, and I believe it's pretty soon as a result of the first SDK and API that's been launched, is we're going to be adding a cart widget to the website, so that instead of going from the website to the checkout, you're going to find that the half of the checkout experience actually takes place directly on the website, using like a slide-in kind of cart widget. So yeah, it's looking really nice. I'm really excited about that.
Cool. So you're in the business of having to know what people want when it comes to these kind of things. Is there any kind of trends you're seeing in what people want from a platform, seeing as you're kind of like one of the big guys in the space? So trends, what are people looking for in their, like, because I'm sure it's changed from the time you launched, whatever was it, you said 8
yeah
years.
Oh god. Yeah, it's changed so much. I would say that people are looking for mostly flexibility, and they're looking to simplify their operations and get rid of those pain points. And oftentimes they don't, like, I don't think people realize that they have these pain points because they've just kind of accepted what is, which is, that's where our job gets a lot harder, because obviously we're really open to the feedback and we engage with that feedback consistently and regularly. But going out there to try and find what they aren't, like what our users are not telling us, and establishing solutions for that. That's a big part of what we do. And I think in terms of the trends, I would say, subscription is becoming that's why we call it subscription first, because it's almost like a different type of a business. It's like what I would call a modern form of online retail. And I think there's a few macro trends that are taking place right now, in the form of like community and the convergence of different threads in online shopping and commerce in general. I think, for example, we're seeing a lot more creation of content, for example. So I think there's a couple of macro trends there that we're seeing like converging and stuff like that. Which
I would agree. By
really
the way,
interesting.
Content creation and community is huge, I think.
Yep.
In what people are doing, to having to, like, in a sense, it's sweat equity, but you can also do in a less expensive way, almost free way, to be quite honest, to add that value to your memberships, right?
Definitely, yeah. And I think I'm trying not to give too much away, obviously, okay, but yeah. I think there's a few things that we're working on there as well, which I think will unlock some really interesting outcomes. And I think that's what's really exciting for me personally, because when you see these macro trends and you think, okay, well, what's the end state of when those macro trends come to the fruition and actually converge and combine, or reach their kind of fruition point? I think that's the fact is that we're in this position where we can actually help facilitate that and actually define what that end state is. That's super exciting. Like, that's what I get up for in the morning.
It is exciting, without saying obviously too much. So let's move along then. When it comes to help, what kind of resources or help can someone get? Because customer service is huge. I know you like to be implicated personally in a lot of things, and we're going to talk maybe one of those things in when it comes to migrations and stuff. But like, what kind of help if someone's like, okay, everything's good, but if I need help, where do I get that? Is there a resource? Is there a Facebook group? Is there you used to have a podcast, by the way, folks, is it still running? Like, can people still search it?
It's still live. Okay, yeah, you can
cool.
still listen to it. Subscription Rockstars, I think it was called.
Yeah, Subscription Rockstars.
You're on there. You should listen to Eric's
I am on that
show. It's actually really good.
You know what I should do is when I'll make sure this is on the show notes for the if people want to go check that out. You can check me as a guest on his show. So
different perspective.
That's right.
So to answer your question, interestingly, I would say our customer service is probably one of our top products. I would say we're probably known for our quality and level of customer support that we provide. So our CS team are phenomenal. So they're very hands-on, and they will help you with your challenges directly. There's a chat widget on the website. I encourage you to even test it out and just go say hi. But yeah, basically we have a Facebook group as well, which is aptly called the Subscription First Entrepreneurs Facebook group. We also have the university that we're developing, which is just going to be university.subly.co, which is where we're putting lessons on how to use Subly, as I mentioned earlier on the call. Yeah, and we're actually, we also have this expert kind of program where we have these certified Subly experts who can help you with your Subly store, and also just with your subscription needs in general. These are certified experts that have gone through a certification process built by us, And we're also going to be hosting some of their lessons on our university. And then the support center, where you can, the FAQs, like you can ask questions and then it'll show you articles on how to use your Subly store as well. So however you like to learn, we've basically got you covered. So like if you like to read, then you can go in and read the articles, or you can watch the videos on the university, or you can talk to our team. Like that's the way we look at it. And then the Facebook group for the community.
Yeah. And like I said, you're hands-on too. Like you pop your head in there once in a while too. You're not just the big mogul from the top. He does get in there, and you might be even lucky enough that he'll answer your question once in a while in there. I don't know if I've seen you. Yeah, it's true though. Like that's pretty cool. Like how often do you see that? I know actually who else is pretty good at. Jay's pretty good from Bold. He likes to be pretty active and stuff. Jay's a good guy. But there's not too many of them. Like I
think I've seen some of his content actually. He's got a great personality. He's very charismatic. I think he does well.
Yeah, no, he's just salt of the earth guy. He's just a nice guy. Like he just can't say a bad word about Jay from.
It's because he's Canadian, right?
It's funny. He's well, I wouldn't say that, but it's because I would say more specifically, he's Manitoban. He's actually like, I'm in a little French town called Saint Pierre Joly. He's about 30 minutes south of me. So
cool.
But he actually started his business in a little garage or basement, whatever, with two other buddies in a town called Ile des Chênes, another French town, about 15 minutes from here. So yeah, it's a kind of a little subscription hotbed here, I guess. Yeah, hub.
Yeah.
Anyways, so anyways,
like the wrong country.
So anyways, yeah, customer service is not an issue. Hey, I got a question for some. Like I've never noticed it, and so because you guys are doing your own thing. When someone says, "Okay, I want my own," for example, if on Shopify, I could go and get Gorgeous to do like my chat widgets for help stuff. What kind of stuff do you guys have for when it comes to Subly?
Yeah, so you can pretty much integrate with almost anything if you just drop in like the JavaScript code on your website. So technically, if you wanted the Gorgeous widget to appear, you could just put your JavaScript snippet on there. But we also do have built-in apps on our app store where you can enable integrations. I think we have a native one with Zendesk as well, and maybe Intercom. Racking my brain right now, but yeah, there's an app store, and we're also, again, like we have this page where you can vote on integrations, where we'll do native integrations, but we also have the Zapier integration, which means pretty much unlocks
anything.
Yeah, essentially. And then we have the automations with the webhook triggers, and then the API, so you can build your own integrations as well. So there's so many different ways that you can do it, but yeah, you could just use the website builder and drop the JavaScript snippet in really easily.
Okay, I want to talk about migration, which means moving over to a new platform, and how difficult that is, or how easy it is. But before I do that, I also just want to say, like, if someone's like, okay, I've got more questions, I'm gonna have to write these down. So where can they send these questions to? Can they send, like, what's the best place for them to get their questions answered?
I would say probably just directly on our website with the chat widget. That's probably the fastest way to get an answer to your question. Yeah, that's probably the number one I would recommend.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll have that link in the show notes.
Cool.
Junard, if you want to right now, also just again paste over once in a while the Subly website on the YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, it'll have your name, your logo, obviously, but also have your website on there. So correct me, it's just subly.co, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Subly is SUBBLY.co. Yeah.
We do have the .com. There's a whole story behind that, but right now we just redirected to subly.co.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And if you're like, well, I'm in the States and he's in the UK or Scotland, like, how does this work? It doesn't matter. You can be in any country. You don't have to be. And I think, correct, you probably, I would say the majority of your customers are probably in the States anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So, okay, migration. So someone's like, you know what? I'm sold. This is, I've sent my questions and I'm satisfied here. Migration, switching over from one platform to the next. Easy, difficult. Let's start there.
It depends. It depends. It depends on at what stage you are in your business. So if you're just at the beginning, say you've got 10 subscribers or something like that, then it's very easy. If you're a bit more further along the journey and you've got 1,000 subs maybe, or 500 to 1,000, then it's still relatively straightforward. To be honest with you, it's relatively straightforward across from small to big, except for really big, where you might have like custom integrations and some other tech dependencies that you're really deeply embedded in. That's where it would get especially complicated. But apart from that, it's still a relatively straightforward process. However, there's just more considerations as you go further along your journey, because you've probably got more dependency on like plugins and things like that. You need to figure out how that would translate on the new platform. Yeah, that's the answer to that question, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Overall, it's straightforward. Like the process is well defined.
Okay, so like someone would go to subly.co, start building the site in the background, and then once it's all ready to launch, you move over your members. Is that what it is? Or start testing it even with new members starting to go there, and then you integrate the old? Is that kind of like what's the?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways you can do it, and it also depends on what platform you're moving from and to. So
let's just say Shopify, for example.
Okay, so using Shopify as an example, I mean, I would recommend you have to get your store prepared. Mm-hmm. You have to have it ready to go on the new platform. And then from there, there's two approaches. One is you just move the customers across, right? And then, I would even encourage testing, like, trying to get a couple of customers across at first, or
like having a landing page, like having like one Facebook ad, for example, shooting customers over to that new site or something.
Yeah, just to make sure it's working the way you expect it. Run it for a month or two or something like that, depending on what your cadence is. That's a great suggestion, by the way. Yeah. And then the other approach is to just deprecate the old platform and manage two platforms, which I don't recommend, obviously, because I think that's going to create a lot of headaches, and
like slowly let it run out, kind of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let it churn out over time on the old platform, and then have your.
I mean, if you had low amounts, it could be a thing. Would you still suggest no?
Yeah, it just depends on what your churn rate is. Imagine you had like really high retention, like Dollar Shave Club, 5%, like less than. I don't even think they knew what their churn value is for so long, because it was such a sticky product. I mean, you're going to be carrying the other platform for however long, you don't even know. Mm-hmm. But if you've got like 10%, 5 to 10% churn, that after X amount of time, you're probably going to have, everybody churned out. But the other thing is you can incentivize people with discounts and say, hey, like, here's 10% if you resubscribe, or 20% for your first box. We're moving platform. We didn't want to force you, but this is where we're going. And eventually, after this date, we're going to be shutting it down or something like that. Yeah. So there's a couple of different approaches there, but obviously the best approach is just to cleanly move the data from one to the other. Now, it really does depend on where you're taking the data from and to. For example, with Shopify, in most cases, you're going to be using Stripe. Actually, even Shop Pay is Stripe under the hood. So you can extract your data. Really? There's a process for it, where you I can't remember the latest version of it, but I do believe that even Stripe is making it easier now to bring your customers out and into what's called a standard Stripe account. To then it's the easiest way to port it across. But it really is more dependent on where the credit card information is stored, which payment gateway.
Let's use Stripe then, for example. That's what we use, right? So let's use Stripe.
That's simple then.
Simple.
Super simple. Straightforward. You just populate a CSV file, and just once you've got your product set up, you would put your like IDs in, the renewal date, the first renewal date, all the customer information, and then we would run an import if it's Subly, and done. That's it.
Same renewal. You can have the same billing date, same shipping date. You can have everything the same.
Yeah, and our support team are really very well versed and trained up on how to handle these migrations. We actually have like an internal checklist, and we have a whole process, and we walk you through that, and we even do as much as we can, to help do some of the heavy lifting for you. Obviously, you do still need to like get the data and populate the spreadsheet, and then just double check it, and basically we'll both parties will end up double checking just to make sure. But that's the gist of the process.
Okay.
Obviously, you need to remember to disable your renewals on the old platform as well, because then you're going to be double charging them. But again, we have this checklist, and our team walk you through that process and make sure
that's good. So you don't have to think of all these things on your own.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So Is there any issues with that? Is it kind of these things where it's like no, we're batting 1,000 here, and to use an American baseball term, there's it's something where typically it goes just pretty smooth and people are happy, and
Yeah, I mean, 99.9% of the time it goes smoothly, right? But sometimes there will be little errors. Like, for example, if there's situations where sometimes customers will have multiple different products and they're migrating multiple different batches, and there might be some data input incorrectly. Those cases are really like easy to rectify. They're easy to identify and fix because usually because there's like an activity feed inside of your Subly account, so you can see what's happening. But yeah, and those ones are like not that common, but they still do happen, just human error. We've never actually had an actual failure in the tech part of it. It's usually human error. And in fact, there was one incident where it was, I would say, the worst case for the merchant and for us. And it was due to insufficient training, actually, from one of our team members. And it was basically there was the incorrect ID was used on the product. And yeah, it caused a bit of a mess. And it was a Sunday. I was sitting relaxing or trying to relax. And the alarm bells were ringing. The situation wasn't great. It was the merchant had they were doing their migration whilst they were on like vacation, which was probably not the best timing either. I felt horrendous. Yeah, so I basically jumped in and contacted the merchant immediately, and our engineering team, and got them all online. And we basically had like an emergency. We have our emergency protocol, so we basically were executing that and triangulated the issue, immediately patched it, and fixed the data and tried to tidy up all the issues. And basically, in a situation like that, we'll go to the end of the world to fix it. Like, because I'm actually getting emotional thinking about it right now. I'm like, my heart rate is increasing right now. Like, it matters that much. I'm still annoyed about this situation. Like, and I guess I hope that comes across, that it's obviously clear that we care enough to rectify the situation. And in that situation, we actually, took full ownership and dealt with it in the appropriate manner, and resolved it, and to the point where the merchant, I would say, is probably quite satisfied now. So yeah, it was not a great situation, but you learn from these, when the fire is burning, that's when you learn. Yeah. And we've tightened our processes, we've raised the bar, we've put the necessary safety bumpers in place to prevent that specific scenario from ever happening again. So
yeah, shit happens, I guess you could say. Not that she ever wanted to happen, but it looks like you guys dealt with it in a pretty good way. I mean, it was a lady, you said. She's happy. A lady, yeah. She's happy now, and everything's good, smooth over.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and I've made the point of, like, leading the charge on that situation myself, and to make it known that, like, our goal is to make it right, and exceed her expectations over time anyway. So, that's what we want in every case, actually. But yeah, it was an expensive mistake for us specifically in the end. But not that was the thing that mattered. It was just that it was a bad experience for the merchant, and I think that is something that we never want to happen again, to be honest with you. So you can never say never. Obviously, like, as I said earlier, there's the things you don't know, the things you know, and then there's the things that you don't know that you don't know. But as I said, 99.9% of the time it goes completely smoothly, and we deal with migrations all the time, every day. Hundreds per year. So it's a very well-defined process, and I wouldn't let that disaster story make anybody feel unsettled, because there's no need to be. But yeah,
you heard it here first, folks. I mean, he's gonna bat 1,000 going forward, so there's never ever going to be another mistake in the history of the migration of Subly. Thanks for joining us. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, it does happen. It's not, you're not immune to it. Every platform has had that happen. But how long does it take, by the way? Like, let's say, does it matter? Is it dependent on the size of the business? How long does it take to migrate? Is it like a day? Is it like it just takes a few months? Like, what is this?
Well, the actual migration part, so the data transfer is is within a matter of hours, depending on how many subscribers you've got.
Okay.
But the actual preparation and the following the steps could span. So the amount of effort and time is probably going to be hours, actually, excluding the build time of your actual website, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the process might last like weeks or a month, depending on where you are in your cycle. So we'll actually tell you, like, we'll find out what your renewal cadence is, and then we'll recommend the right time to do it. So obviously we want to be as far away as possible from the actual renewal date to make sure that we've got time for it. And we actually schedule it into our calendar to make sure that we're doing it at the right time and that we're giving ourselves enough buffer to catch any human error, etc. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The actual effort is minimal.
Yeah. You mentioned something, just one last thing on the migration stuff, is that you mentioned if they have multiple products, does that include like a shop? So let's say, for example, we have a shop. So if you go to our website, you're going to see we have subscribe and then you have shop. Does that all move over? How does that work? You have to build your shop from scratch?
Yeah, so you'd have to build your experience
when you're doing it, when you're building your site in the first place.
Yeah, so you would build it up front and have your actual user journey and customer experience already defined. I would say that from our perspective, the subscription first, following the principles, the best approach to that would be to put your subscription front and center, like to have that as the place that you want to funnel them into. But that aside, you would define all of that up front and design it, and with the help of our support team or one of our experts.
Yeah.
And I think that answers it.
Yeah. No, that's part of like that makes total sense, by the way. Like, I guess my question would be, can you also import your customers? So let's say you have like people that are just one-off buyers, like they would be imported as well. You take your subscription members from Stripe, or does Stripe just recognize that it's like they've purchased at one point and just picks everybody up and moves them over?
No, so it's a really good question, actually. Yeah. So right now the import process is for the subscriptions
only,
specifically. Yeah, specifically and only. But it's a good question, because the scripts that actually handle the processing might actually be capable of just taking in the customers without any subscription as well.
Actually, no, because sorry to cut you off. Like, Stripe would take care of my subscriptions because it's their bold. Shopify takes care of its own checkout because it's your Shopify. So I don't know if there's like something I would have to take from that as a script.
So you have two separate imports. Yeah, you do two separate exports and imports.
That's right.
Again, because if you're using Shop Pay for those the transaction customers, then you would need to first of all either contact Stripe or Shopify to get them to release the customer information and convert the Stripe account in the back end into a standard Stripe account. And then from there, we would be able to do that import.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, I think that's all I have. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on when it comes to your platform and everything else. Otherwise, we're going to move over to the post-show wrap-up and go over a couple of your favorite sites.
Okay. So there's nothing specific else that I have to add, to be honest with you. I think if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and to our team. And if you're on our community, if you have questions, and I'll always try and jump in as much as I can. But I don't have anything specific to add. Although I always love to hear people's questions and what their concerns are.
Yeah. If you have a specific question and you really want to reach out to Stefan personally, there's no really way of doing that. But maybe we can do something for the supporters. If you're a supporter, maybe you can have access to your direct email and get bombarded. No, I'm kidding. But,
I mean, I'm happy to do Twitter. Like, I'm not really that active, but it's a public place to get hold. Like, I will respond to tweets.
Okay. Yeah, and if you're not on Twitter, but you're a supporter, you can comment. How's this? Because we're going to be doing the post-show wrap-up. You can be a supporter and you can comment in the video that we're going to have there for the exclusive post-show wrap-up, and post your comments there, and we'll make sure it gets to Stefan there.
Cool, that works for me.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks for doing this, man. I mean, there's a ton of stuff we went over. I know it's like, but it was a really good episode. I think there's a ton of good stuff in here. From value ladders to migration to post-purchase sales, website builders, simplification, and ultimately what you guys do is to want to keep that simplify, right? Like all in one, subscription first, that's your focus. You were built for that. So if you're listening to this and you're in the idea stage, forget all that complicated stuff. Just go to subly.co and find out how. Is there like a trial period? How does that work if people want to try it?
So there is a 14-day free trial.
There you go.
But if you are referred by certain like experts, I think you can get 30 days, depending on who's doing it. I think, but if you're just going on the website, you get 14 days. So, yeah.
Either way, you get a free trial. You can sign up. There's no credit cards involved. You can just sign up.
No, there is. You do require a credit card. Yeah, this is something that we've been talking about a lot over the last year, we just haven't gotten around to removing that requirement yet. But yeah, right now you're required to put your credit card in, but you can self-cancel as well. Like when you're on your free trial, you just go in and hit the cancel button and it will terminate.
Okay. Cool. Well, I look forward to kind of doing a navigational thing in the post-show wrap-up because I haven't really checked out, some stuff on your side for a while. So I'm excited about it. If you are, come over. Let's go over to the locals and we'll check it out. So thanks for doing this. Stefan Pretty, folks, of Subly, one of the founders of the big three. So thanks for doing this, man. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it as always. And we'll catch everybody else on the flip side.
Thanks, Eric.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me, man.